Hey everybody, welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I'm the founder of Forward Partners. I am joined by my partner in podcasting, Emily Grace Deal. What are we talking about today, Emily?
Today we're talking about navigating the challenges of leadership is hard enough without being rudely criticized at every turn. How do we deal with that negativity when it's actually coming from our own head? Yeah, it's us.
When you think about that, it is hard enough when people are constantly, criticizing us, but it's that voice in our head that is the hardest part, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's when we talk about people's leadership health, this is always the part that is really, truly impactful, is for them to start to recognize that voice in their head.
Yeah.
And often recognize that it's fear-based. It's usually based on our core fear. Again, we'll go back to Enneagram. It's that part of the magic of Enneagram is it helps us see what our core fear is.
Yeah. Well, and identifying that you're wrestling with something that's specific that you can kind of see and put a name to.
Yes, and once you can put the name to it, it's beautiful because you can start to recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it. I always tell people the goal, because often we'll see it in the past, right? We'll have a situation where something happens, a challenge happens, our fear ramps up, we react badly. And then, a few hours later, a few days later, we're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
The goal is that in real time, we see it. We see that fear.
Instead of that really clear hindsight.
Yes. Because if we can see it in real time, now we have a choice. Now we can say, am I going to let fear make this choice for me, or do I get to make it?
Yeah.
And that voice in our head is often incredibly cruel to us, right? Like, I don't know about you. I'm sure your voice is very kind, but mine is not. It does not say good things about me. It does not say good things about what I'm capable of.
Sometimes when ego creeps in, it does, but most of the time.
Yes, most of the time it's negative, and it's hard to wrestle with. But this matters so much because we kind of have this basic formula we think about, because the damage that's done with that voice is it's done in language. It's words. If we believe those words, if we believe that we're not enough, that we can't do this, especially from a leadership perspective, we are going to show up then with the mindset that says we can't do this. We are not going to make it.
Yeah.
And that ultimately becomes very damaging, right? When you've got a leader that shows up and they are believing a lot of fear-based things, and that cruel voice in their head is dictating things, that voice is often not kind to others either.
Yeah, well, and that's that authenticity factor too, where you're like, if you're showing up and inside you're going, oh, this is terrible, everything's horrible, nothing's great, and you're like, no, it's gonna be a good day today, it's gonna be great, and it's like, clearly that's not what you're saying in your head. Clearly you can see that that's not. Or if you're just criticizing yourself the whole time, and then you need to take your own advice that you're giving somebody else, give that grace to yourself too.
Yeah. It's really just being intentional with everything, because if we don't choose the words, if we let that voice in our head and that critic in our head choose the words, that dictates our mindsets, and then that dictates our actions.
Yeah.
If we have a certain mindset walking in, our actions are going to look like that mindset.
Yeah.
And those actions then dictate the outcomes. And so ultimately, this is the intentionality to go all the way back and to say, okay, words, mindset, actions, outcome. We can choose the words. We can choose whatever words we want to believe, and we want to very intentionally let them guide our day.
Yeah.
But that's a process, right? That's actually really hard to do.
That processing part, right? Because if you're processing, you can process through the criticism and be like, okay, this is what my instinct is to tell myself. Yeah. Okay, it's not valid though. You have to work through that and go, okay, what's the truth in that? Where's the real story at? What actually happened, or what am I actually dealing with? And if I wake up and say, okay, this is going to be a good day, and we're going to have a good day, and it's going to be okay, and don't let some piece of fear dictate that it's going to be bad, because.
Well, and it goes even deeper, not even just we're going to have a good day, but who do I need to show up as to create a good day, right? Because we're going to have a good day or a bad day. We often base that on outside circumstances, right? What's happening to us? The goal of this is that we become so cognizant as leaders that we dictate in the morning, this is who I am going to show up as. I'm going to be this.
Yeah.
Because that version of us is capable of creating a good day. It doesn't matter what happens to us. And so this really is when I look at organizations where leaders are just doing damage all over the place, it's not usually intentional. They're not being intentional about anything. They're letting their fear, they're letting that voice in their head dictate everything and make those choices for them. And they're not often good choices. And that person doesn't want that. There rarely is that person like, yes, I cannot wait to screw this up today for everybody.
Right.
But
if they knew, if there was that real narrative of if they knew what what their indecision to do something or their voice preventing them from doing something was causing, then it would make a difference.
It would, and it would honestly devastate them to see because we're often not good at communication. So I'm blessed to kind of walk throughout the different levels within an organization. So leader up top is fear-driven, is not really leading themselves well. They're not being intentional. They show up, they do damage. Well, the people down here are scared to even talk about it and voice it. And so that damage is quietly being done, and eventually you have people that just leave. And so this is about making it conscious and choosing intentionally. Am I going to listen to that voice, or am I going to create whatever I want?
I think this is also a piece of like where I want to help people all the time, and I'm always thinking about how to do that and how I can help somebody. And it's like, if I keep doing that, then in reality, I'm not like, how do I say that? Like, if I am making the choice to help everyone all the time, and then my mindset is, okay, I'm going to be great for everyone everywhere, everything's great, then I am actually hurting someone by not giving them 100%. And I'm like, that would hurt me to know that my mindset was like, great, positive, everything's good, and then it's not, or in the opposite where I'm like, this is terrible, I'm having a bad day, and that reaction is bad for somebody. Does that make sense?
And that's where that distinction comes in, not just like the outcome is you want everybody to be helped, right? But how do we get there? We get there by saying, who do I need to be to make this happen? What are those words to describe that? And we often skip that step. We go straight to, what do I want the outcome to be? And without setting that language and those words, we show up as just whatever. And it's very unintentional. And so I think this is a really powerful tool. So think through this for leaders out there. Think through this equation of your words that you believe about yourself. That equals your mindset. That's how you show up. That is then going to dictate your actions. That then dictates your outcomes. And so if you want better outcomes, it has got to go back to the conscious choice of who you want to show up as. Who do you need to be to create that success that you're after? And we all have to do it. We have that responsibility as leaders. So this is a powerful tool, and I love being able to help leaders think through this because we often don't. So I hope y'all take that and use that. All right, if people want to send us their questions, where do they send that to?
lab@forwardpartners.net.
lab@forwardpartners.net. If they want to find us on the socials?
@forwardpartner.
@forwardpartner. Tons of content just like this where we talk about these ideas about how we actually lead. Emily, thank you for doing this. Danny, thank you for producing. Wilco Workspaces, thank you for partnering with us on this podcast. We will see you back here next time in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.